Ifenkiri, you mustn't treat Onogu like this, Adanne said, her voice filled with concern. She's your friend, not your servant. Ifenkiri rolled her eyes. Mother, you worry too much. Onogu doesn't mind helping me. Besides, she knows her place. In the heart of Afikpo, a serene village nestled in the lush landscapes of Igbo land, lived a young woman named Ifenkili. She was renowned far and wide for her beauty. Her striking features, radiant skin, and graceful presence made her the envy of all who saw her. Ifenkiri was born and raised in Afikpo, a place where tradition and community held strong. The village was a close-knit one where everyone knew each other, and stories of the past were shared by the fireside each evening. Despite its peaceful surroundings, the village bore scars from the war that had taken many lives, including that of Ifenkiri's father. Adanne, Ifenkiri's mother, was a resilient woman. Left alone to raise her daughter, she worked tirelessly to provide for them. She often reminisced about her husband, telling Ifenkiri tales of his bravery and kindness. Ifenkiri, your father was a great man, Adanne would say, her eyes misting over the memories. He loved us dearly and always put the village first. Ifenkiri would listen, her heart swelling with pride, but also with a sense of loss. She had been very young when her father died, and her memories of him were faint and fleeting. As Ifenkiri grew, her beauty became more pronounced. Her features were delicate yet striking, with eyes that sparkled like the clear waters of the village stream. Her presence commanded attention wherever she went, and it wasn't long before the villagers began to take notice. Ah, Ifenkili, you are truly blessed, the villagers would say, admiring her as she walked by. No one in Afikpo can compare to your beauty. Ifenkiri, aware of her looks, began to develop a sense of superiority. She believed her beauty set her apart from the other girls in the village. She often looked down on them, convinced they could never measure up to her standards. One of her closest friends was Onogu, a kind-hearted girl who admired Ifenkiri despite her flaws. Onogu was always at Ifenkiri's beck and call, willing to do anything to stay in her good graces. Ifenkiri, let's go to the market together, Onogu suggested one sunny morning. I hear there are new fabrics from the traders. Ifenkiri glanced at her friend, a hint of disdain in her eyes. Onogu, you can go if you want. I have more important things to do than browse through market stalls. Onogu's smile faltered, but she nodded, hiding her disappointment. She knew Ifenkiri well and understood that her friend's harshness came from a place of insecurity, though Ifenkiri would never admit it. Adanne, noticing the change in her daughter's demeanor, often tried to counsel her. Ifenkiri, my dear, beauty is a gift, but it is not everything. She would say gently, kindness and humility are far more valuable. But Ifenkiri would brush off her mother's advice. Mother, you don't understand. I am different from the others. They are not in my league. Adanne would sigh, her heart heavy with worry. She feared that her daughter's pride would one day lead to her downfall, but she knew Ifenkiri had to learn this lesson on her own. The days in Afikpo passed peacefully, with the villagers going about their daily routines. The women would gather by the river to wash clothes and exchange stories, while the men walked the fields or hunted in the nearby forests. Children played in the dusty streets, their laughter filling the air. Ifenkiri, however, often isolated herself. She preferred to stay away from the communal activities, believing they were beneath her. She spent her time admiring her reflection in the mirror, dreaming of a future where she would be revered not just for her beauty, but for the power and influence she believed she deserved. One afternoon, as Ifenkiri sat by the window, lost in thought, Onogu approached her hesitantly. Ifenkiri, may I speak with you? What is it, Onogu? Ifenkiri replied, not bothering to look up. I just wanted to say, you should be kinder to others. They look up to you, you know. Ifenkiri finally turned to face her friend, a frown creasing her forehead. Why should I care what they think? They are not on my level. Onogo sighed, wishing she could make her friend see reason. Just because you are beautiful doesn't mean you should be unkind. True beauty comes from within. Ifenkiri scoffed, waving her hand dismissively. Spare me your lectures, Onogo. If you have nothing better to say, you can leave. Hurt and disappointed, Onogu nodded and walked away. She knew that Ifenkiri's attitude would eventually catch up with her, but for now, all she could do was hope that her friend would come to her senses before it was too late. As time went by, Ifenkiri's behavior became more unbearable. Her sense of superiority over everyone in the village of Afikpo only grew stronger. She walked through the village with her head held high, often ignoring the greetings of her fellow villagers. Ifenkiri believed she was destined for greater things, far beyond the simple life her neighbors led. Despite Ifenkiri's haughty demeanor, Onogu remained loyal. She visited Ifenkiri daily, always eager to help with whatever task was needed. Ifenkiri took full advantage of this, treating Onogu more like a servant than a friend. Onogu, fetch me water from the stream, Ifenkiri commanded one afternoon. Onogu, always eager to please, nodded with a smile. Of course, Ifenkiri, I'll be back soon. As Onogu walked to the stream, some of the village women watched with disapproval. They gathered under the shade of a large mango tree, whispering among themselves. Can you believe how Ifenkiri treats Onogu? One woman said, shaking her head, it's disgraceful. Yes, another woman agreed. Onogu does everything for her, and yet Ifenkiri still looks down on her. It's not right. Meanwhile, Ifenkiri sat comfortably in her home, oblivious to the growing resentment among their neighbors. She believed that her beauty and status set her apart, making her untouchable. When Onogu returned with the water, Ifenkiri barely acknowledged her effort. Put it in the kitchen, she said dismissively. Onogu complied without complaint, her cheerful demeanor never wavering. Is there anything else you need, Ifenkiri? Ifenkiri, you mustn't treat Onogu like this, Adanne said, her voice filled with concern. She's your friend, not your servant. Ifenkiri rolled her eyes. Mother, you worry too much. Onogu doesn't mind helping me. Besides, she knows her place. Adanne sighed, feeling a pang of sadness. She had tried countless times to make her daughter see reason, but Ifenkiri's arrogance only seemed to grow. In the evenings, the villagers would gather around the central fire to share stories and enjoy each other's company. Ifenkiri rarely joined these gatherings, preferring to stay indoors and avoid mingling with those she deemed beneath her. One evening, however, she decided to grace the gathering with her presence. As she approached, the lively chatter of the villagers quieted, and all eyes turned to her. Ifenkiri, come join us, one of the elders called out, trying to extend a hand of friendship. With a slight nod, Ifenkiri took a seat, her posture rigid and aloof. The villagers resumed their conversations, though many cast wary glances in her direction. During the storytelling, Ifenkiri's mind wandered. She found the tales of the village dull and uninspiring. Her thoughts drifted to grander dreams, where she was adored and respected by all. As the evening wore on, one of the younger villagers, Nnamdi, shared a story about kindness and humility. His words seemed directed at Ifenkiri, though he never mentioned her name. And so, Nnamdi concluded, the lesson is clear. True beauty and greatness come from a humble heart and kind actions. Many of the villagers nodded in agreement, casting sideways glances at Ifenkiri. She felt their eyes on her but chose to ignore the implied message. In her mind, she was already beyond their simple wisdom. Back at home, Adanne once again tried to speak to her daughter. Ifenkiri, did you listen to Nnamdi's story tonight? There is much we can learn from such tales. Ifenkiri scoffed, turning her back on her mother. Mother, these stories are for simple minds. They mean nothing to me. Adanne's heart ached for her daughter. She knew that Ifenkiri's pride was a shield, hiding her insecurities and fears. But how could she make her daughter see the truth? Onugu, ever the faithful friend, continued to visit Ifenkiri daily. She would sweep the floor, fetch water and run errands, all without a single complaint. The other villagers watched in dismay, unable to understand why Onugu tolerated such treatment. Ifenkiri, I brought you some fresh fruit from the market, Onugu said one morning, holding out a basket of ripe oranges and bananas. Ifenkiri glanced at the basket, barely showing any appreciation. Just leave them on the table, she said, waving her hand dismissively. As Onugu placed the fruit on the table, Adanne entered the room. She looked at Onugu with a mixture of gratitude and sorrow. Thank you, Onugu. You are always so kind. Onugu smiled brightly. It's no trouble, Adanne. I'm happy to help. When Onugu left, Adanne turned to her daughter with a serious expression. Ifenkiri, you must change your ways. Your behavior is driving people away. Ifenkiri folded her arms, defiant. Mother, you don't understand. I don't need them. They are not my equals. Adanne's eyes filled with tears. Ifenkiri, being beautiful does not give you the right to belittle others. True beauty lies in how we treat those around us. But Ifenkiri refused to listen. Her pride and arrogance had built walls around her heart, and she was determined to maintain her sense of superiority, no matter the cost. As the years passed, Ifenkiri's beauty continued to captivate the attention of many suitors. Word of her stunning appearance and grace spread far beyond the boundaries of Afikpo. Men from neighboring villages and even distant lands came to seek her hand in marriage. They brought gifts and spoke of their admiration, hoping to win her heart. One day, a young man named Chinedu from the neighboring village of Eziama arrived at Ifenkiri's home. He was known for his bravery and kindness, and he had tales of Ifenkiri's beauty. Good day, Adanne, Chinedu greeted, bowing respectfully. I have come to speak with Ifenkiri. I wish to ask for her hand in marriage. Adanne smiled warmly, though her heart was heavy with worry. Chinedu, you are a good man. Let me call Ifenkiri. Adanne called her daughter, who entered the room with an air of indifference. She looked at Chinedu, her eyes scanning him critically. Mother, what does he want? Ifenkiri asked, her tone cold. Chinedu stepped forward, his voice filled with sincerity. Ifenkiri, I have heard of your beauty and grace. I have come to ask for your hand in marriage. I promise to love and cherish you always. Ifenkiri laughed, a sound devoid of warmth. You? Marry me? You must be joking. You are not my equal. I deserve a prince from a great kingdom, not a simple man like you. Chinedu's face fell, but he maintained his dignity. Ifenkiri, true love does not look at status. It looks at the heart. Leave my house, Ifenkiri commanded, her voice harsh. You are wasting your time. Chinedu bowed once more to Adanne before leaving, his heart heavy with disappointment. Adanne watched him go, then turned to her daughter. Ifenkiri, Chinedu is a good man. Why do you treat him with such contempt? Ifenkiri,
You should not be so quick to dismiss this man, Onugu added, her voice gentle but firm. They come with sincere intentions. But Ifenkiri refused to listen. You both do not understand. I am destined for greatness. I will not settle for anything less than a prince. Days turned into weeks, and more suitors arrived at Ifenkiri's doorstep. Each time, she met them with the same disdain and arrogance. Obina, a wealthy trader from a nearby village, came with a chest of gold and fine clothes. Ifenkiri, I have traveled far to see you, Obina said, presenting his gifts. I wish to make you my wife and share all that I have with you. Ifenkiri glanced at the chest, unimpressed. Gold and clothes do not make a prince. Take your gifts and leave. You are not worthy of me. Obina, like the others before him, left with a heavy heart. The villagers began to talk, their whispers growing louder with each rejection. Does Ifenkiri think she's better than everyone? One woman murmured, she will end up alone if she continues this way. Yes, another agreed, even the best of men are not good enough for her. It is a shame. Despite the growing disapproval from the villagers, Ifenkiri remained steadfast in her belief that she deserved a prince. One evening, as she sat in her room, Onugu entered, carrying a basket of freshly picked flowers. Ifenkiri, these are for you, Onugu said, placing the basket on the table. Ifenkiri barely glanced at the flowers. What do you want, Onugu? I want to talk to you, Ifenkiri, Onugu replied, sitting down beside her friend. You are turning away good men who genuinely care for you. Why can't you see that? Ifenkiri, Onugu is right, Adane said, entering the room. You must stop this. A prince may never come. You need to open your heart to those who are here for you. But Ifenkiri shook her head, her resolve unwavering. I will not settle. I know what I deserve, and I will wait for it. Onugu sighed, feeling a pang of sadness for her friend. Ifenkiri, life is not always about what we think we deserve. Sometimes, it is about what we make of the opportunities given to us. Ifenkiri, my dear, please listen, Adane pleaded. You are letting pride cloud your judgment. Do not let it lead you to a lonely path. But Ifenkiri turned away, refusing to heed their advice. She was determined to wait for her prince, convinced that he would come one day and sweep her off her feet, making her the queen she believed she was destined to be. And so, the suitors continued to come, only to be met with rejection and scorn. Ifenkiri's heart remained closed, her pride and arrogance blinding her to the genuine love and happiness that stood right before her. One sunny afternoon, Ifenkiri decided to take a walk through the village, hoping the fresh air would lift her spirits. She invited Onugu to accompany her, and the two friends set off, chatting and laughing as they strode along the dusty path of Afikpo. Ifenkiri, what is on your mind today? Onugu asked, noticing the thoughtful look on her friend's face. Ifenkiri smiled, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Onugu, I've been thinking about my future. I dream of becoming a queen, ruling a great kingdom with my king by my side. Can you imagine it? Onugu chuckled, shaking her head. Ifenkiri, that sounds like a fairy tale. Such things do not happen to people like us. But Ifenkiri's confidence remained unshaken. You will see, Onugu. My Prince Charming will come for me. I am so beautiful that it is only a matter of time before he arrives and take me to his kingdom. As they continued walking, an elderly man approached them. He was well respected in the village, known for his wisdom and kind heart. His face was lined with age, and his eyes held a lifetime of experiences. Good afternoon, Ifenkiri and Onugu. The old man greeted, his voice gentle but firm. May I speak with you for a moment? Ifenkiri raised an eyebrow, curious yet slightly irritated by the interruption. What is it, old man? The elder sighed, looking directly at Ifenkiri. Ifenkiri,
I have watched you grow up, and I have seen many suitors come to ask for your hand in marriage. You turn them away, dreaming of a prince. But remember, time waits for no one. You must choose wisely from those who seek you now, or you may never marry. Ifenkiri's face twisted with anger. How dare you speak to me like that? You know nothing of my dreams or my words. Get out of my way. The old man shook his head sadly. Pride comes before a fall, Ifenkiri. Do not let it lead you a lonely path. Infuriated, Ifenkiri insulted the old man. You are just a foolish old man. Mind your own business and leave me alone. She stormed off, her temper flaring. Onogu, feeling embarrassed and concerned, turned to the old man. I am so sorry, sir. Please forgive her. She did not mean to be so harsh. The old man nodded, his expression sorrowful. I hope she finds her way before it's too late. Onogu hurried after Ifenkiri, who was striding ahead, her fist clenched in anger. Ifenkiri, please calm down. He meant no harm. He was only trying to help. But Ifenkiri's fury was uncontrollable. Help? He thinks he can lecture me about my life? He has no idea who I am or what I deserve. Onogu sighed, trying to soothe her friend. Ifenkiri, you need to calm down. Getting angry won't solve anything. When they finally reached Ifenkiri's home, Adane was outside, tending to the garden. She saw the look on Ifenkiri's face and knew something was wrong. What happened, Ifenkiri? Why are you so upset? Before Ifenkiri could respond, Onugu stepped forward and explained. We met an old man on our walk. He told Ifenkiri that time waits for no one. I want her to choose a suitor soon, or risk never marrying. Ifenkiri did not take his words well and became very angry. Adane's face grew serious. Ifenkiri, you must listen to the wisdom of our elders. They speak from experience and care for our well-being. But Ifenkiri ignored her mother, walking straight into the house and locking the door behind her. She was sitting with rage, unable to understand why everyone seemed to doubt her dreams. Inside her room, she paced back and forth, replaying the old man's words in her mind. How dare he? How dare anyone tell me what to do with my life? She muttered to herself. Meanwhile, Adane turned to Onogu, concern etched on her face. Thank you for telling me, Onogu. I worry about Ifenkiri. Her pride and stubbornness will only bring her pain. Onogu nodded, her heart heavy with concern for her friend. I know, Adane. I tried to make her see reason, but she's so determined to follow her own path. Inside her room, Ifenkiri sat by the window, staring out at the village. Her anger slowly began to fade, replaced by a deep sense of frustration. She felt misunderstood, isolated in her dreams and aspirations. She wanted so much more than the simple life Afikpo had to offer, but it seemed no one else shared her vision. As the sun set and the village grew quiet, Ifenkiri remained locked in her room, her thoughts swirling. She was determined to prove everyone wrong, to show them that her dreams were not just fantasies. But for now, she was alone, her pride and ambition her only companions. One bright morning, Onugu made her way to the stream to fetch water. The path was serene, lined with lush green lands and the sounds of birds chirping in the trees. As she approached the stream, she noticed a young man standing by the water, gazing thoughtfully at the flowing current. She had never seen him before, and his presence piqued her curiosity. Good morning, Onugu greeted, her voice friendly and warm. The young man turned to her, his eyes lighting up with a polite smile. Good morning, he replied. I am new here. My name is Osita. Onugu nodded, smiling back. I am Onugu. It is nice to meet you, Osita. Are you here visiting someone? Osita's expression became earnest. Actually, I have come from a faraway land to seek the hand of a woman named Ifenkiri in marriage. Do you know her? Onugu's eyes widened in surprise. Yes, I know Ifenkiri. She's my best friend. But I must warn you, she's not easy to please. Osita's determination did not waver. I understand. Still, I wish to meet her and speak my intentions. Onugu hesitated, remembering how Ifenkiri had treated other suitors. But seeing the sincerity in Osita's eyes, she finally agreed. Very well. I will take you to her, but first, I need to drop off this water at my house. Osita nodded in agreement. Thank you, Onogu. I appreciate your kindness. Together, they went to the stream, filled the pot of water, and headed back to Onogu's house. After dropping off the water, they made their way to Ifenkiri's home. As they walked, Onogu couldn't help but feel a mixture of hope and apprehension about how Ifenkiri would react. When they arrived, Onogu knocked on the door. Ifenkiri opened it, her expression curious at seeing her friend with a stranger. Ifenkiri, this is Osita, Onogu began, introducing him. He has come to speak with you. Ifenkiri's gaze shifted to Osita, scrutinizing him with a cold, appraising look. Who are you? And what do you want? Osita stepped forward, his voice steady and respectful. My name is Osita. I have traveled from a distant land to ask for your hand in marriage. Ifenkiri, I have heard of your beauty and grace, and I wish to make you my wife. For a moment, there was a stunned silence. Then, Ifenkiri's face contorted with rage. Without warning, she turned and slapped Onogu hard across the face. How dare you bring this commoner to my house? Ifenkiri yelled, her voice trembling with fury. What were you thinking, Onogu? Onogu, clutching her cheek, felt tears welling up in her eyes. She had only wanted to help, but now she felt humiliated and betrayed. Ifenkiri, I thought you might give him a chance. Get out of my sight. Ifenkiri screamed. I don't need friends like you who bring me nothing but disgrace. Onogu, her heart breaking, turned and walked away. She paused at the door, her voice choked with emotion. I am done with this friendship, Ifenkiri. I have always stood by you, but you have crossed the line. With that, Onogu left, leaving Ifenkiri and Osita standing in tense silence. Ifenkiri turned to Osita, her eyes blazing with contempt. And you, poor man, why are you still here? Get out of my house this instant. Osita, dumbfounded by the harsh rejection, could only bow his head in silent sorrow. Without another word, he turned and walked away, his heart heavy with disappointment. Adanne, who heard the commotion, came out to see what had happened. She saw the anguish on Onugu's face as she passed by, and the fallen look on Osita's as he walked away. Turning to Ifenkiri, she demanded an explanation. Ifenkiri, what have you done? Onugu is the only true friend you have, and you stroke her? Why do you push everyone away with your pride and arrogance? Ifenkiri, her face still flushed with anger, did not respond. She simply turned and walked into the house, leaving her mother standing there, a mixture of sadness and frustration in her eyes. Adanne watched her daughter retreat inside, her heart aching with worry. She knew Ifenkiri's pride would lead her to a lonely path if she didn't change her ways. But for now, all she could do was hope that one day, Ifenkiri would realize the true value of friendship and humility. Ifenkiri continued to live her life with the same haughty demeanor, dismissing every suitor who came her way. Her home, once lively with the constant visit of Onogu, now felt airy quiet. Onogu had stopped coming, and Ifenkiri never bothered to check on her former friend. She was too consumed with her own dream and ambitions. One day, a thrilling piece of news spread like wildfire through the village of Afikpo. A prince from the renowned Ani kingdom was coming to the village to seek a wife. The entire village buzzed with excitement, and preparations for his arrival began immediately. The market square was decorated with colorful fabrics and flowers, and everyone eagerly anticipated the prince's visit. Ifenkiri, hearing the news, felt a rush of exhilaration. This is it, she thought to herself. My Prince Charming has finally arrived. She dressed in her finest attire, a beautifully embroidered wrapper and blouse, adorned with elegant beads around her neck and wrists. She carefully applied her makeup, making sure she looked perfect. With a confident smile, she walked to the village square, her head held high. As she entered the square, the villagers turned to look at her. She moved with grace, her beauty undeniable. The other maidens felt a pang of fear and insecurity, convinced that Ifenkiri would be the one to catch the prince's eye. Ifenkiri looks stunning, whispered one of the maidens. How can we compete with her? Yes, another agreed. The prince will surely choose her. Despite their fears, all the maidens gathered and waited anxiously for the prince's arrival. The air was thick with anticipation and excitement. Finally, a majestic entourage appeared on the horizon, and the villagers craned their necks to catch a glimpse of the prince. The prince arrived, dressed in his finest robes, exuding an air of nobility and grace. He stepped out of his carriage, and a hush fell over the crowd. Ifenkiri's heart raced as she watched him approach, confident that her moment had finally come. The prince walked through the gathered maidens, his eyes scanning the crowd. When he reached Ifenkiri, he paused and smiled, giving her a glimmer of hope. He took her hand gently, looking deep into her eyes. Ifenkiri felt a surge of triumph. This is it, she thought. He has chosen me. But then, the prince spoke in a low, serious tone. It can never be you. You are not a nice person and do not deserve my love. Shock washed over Ifenkiri's face. She looked at him again, her eyes widening in recognition. This was not a stranger. This was Osita, the commoner she had cruelly dismissed. No, it can't be, she stammered, her voice trembling. Osita released her hand and turned away, leaving Ifenkiri standing there in stunned silence. He walked straight to Onogu, who stood in the crowd, watching the scene unfold. Taking Onogu's hand, he brought her forward, his eyes filled with admiration and love. Onogu, he said, his voice warm and sincere. You are beautiful, not just on the outside, but in your heart. Will you marry me? Tears of joy welled up in Onogu's eyes. Yes, my prince, I will marry you, she replied, her voice choked with emotion. The villagers erupted in cheers and applause, overjoyed by the turn of events. They had seen Ifenkiri's true nature and felt that justice had been served. Onogu deserves this happiness, one villager said. She has always been kind and humble. Yes, another agreed. Ifenkiri got what she deserved. The village elders stepped forward to bless Onogu and Osita. May your union be filled with love, joy, and prosperity, they said, placing their hands on the couple's heads. As the celebration began, Ifenkiri, unable to stand the shame and humiliation, ran home in tears. She locked herself in her room, her heart heavy with regret and sorrow. Meanwhile, the village rejoiced. Osita and Onugu's wedding was a grand affair, filled with music, dancing and laughter. Everyone celebrated the couple's love and the happy turn of events. Ifenkiri did not attend the wedding. She stayed at home, consumed by her feelings of regret and sadness. For the first time, she saw what true happiness looked like and realized what she had lost because of her pride. As Onugu and Osita danced together, surrounded by the love and joy of their community, Ifenkiri sat alone in her room, contemplating her future. She vowed to change her ways, hoping to find her own path to happiness and redemption. Years passed, and Ifenkiri found herself marking her 40th birthday in a quiet and reflective manner. The vibrant, confident young woman who once believed she was destined for greatness, had changed considerably. She had learned from her mistakes, but she was painfully aware that her change of heart had come too late. As the years went by, the men who had once sought Ifenkiri's hand in marriage found love and started families of their own. The village of Afikpo buzzed with the sounds of children playing and the laughter of happy couples. Ifenkiri watched from the sidelines, her heart heavy with regret. Determined to make amends, Ifenkiri began to treat the villagers with kindness and respect. She went out of her way to help where she could, hoping to rebuild the bridges she had burned. The villagers, seeing her genuine efforts, slowly began to warm up to her. Ifenkiri, would you like to join us for the harvest festival this year? One of the village women asked kindly. Yes, I would love to, Ifenkiri replied, her smile genuine but tinged with sadness. Despite her efforts, Ifenkiri knew that some wounds were too deep to heal completely. Her once radiant beauty had faded with time, and while she still possessed a grace and charm, the years of arrogance had taken their toll. She had lost the spark that once made her the envy of all. One afternoon, Ifenkiri decided to take a walk through the village. Reflecting on her life, she stopped by the river where she and Onugu used to fetch water and laughed about their dreams. The memories were bittersweet, reminding her of the friendship she had lost. As she walked, she came across several of the men who had once asked for her hand in marriage. They were now middle-aged, with families of their own. Ifenkiri felt a pang of sorrow as she saw the happiness she had turned away. Good day, Ifenkiri. One of the men, now a father of three, greeted her politely. Good day, she replied, her voice soft. Ifenkiri took a deep breath and decided to try her luck once more. She approached one of the men who had once courted her. Chukwudi, she said, her voice trembling slightly. I know it has been many years, but would you consider giving me another chance? Chukwudi looked at her with a mixture of pity and regret. Ifenkiri, you are a different person now, and I respect that, but I am happily married, and my heart belongs to my family. I wish you well. Hearing these words, Ifenkiri felt a fresh wave of regret. She nodded, forcing a smile. I understand, Chukwudi. Thank you for your honesty. As she continued her walk, she felt the weight of her past decisions pressing down on her. She returned home, where her mother Adane was waiting. How was your work, Ifenkiri? Adane asked, noticing the sadness in her daughter's eyes. It was reflective, mother, Ifenkiri replied. I saw many of the men who once came for me. They are all happy now. Adane sighed, reaching out to hold Ifenkiri's hand. My dear, you have changed for the better. That is what matters. The past cannot be undone, but you can still find peace and purpose. Ifenkiri nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. I know, mother. I just wish I had realized it sooner. As time went on, Adane's health began to decline. Ifenkiri cared for her mother devotedly, trying to make up for the years of selfishness with love and attention. Eventually, Adane passed away, leaving Ifenkiri completely alone. The news of Adane's death spread throughout the village, and many came to offer their condolences. Ifenkiri appreciated their kindness, but felt a deep emptiness inside. Meanwhile, Onugo had become the queen of Ani Kingdom. She had a loving husband, Osita, and was blessed with beautiful children, both princes and princesses. Onugo's life was filled with joy and fulfillment, a stark contrast to Ifenkiri's solitary existence. Onugo never returned to Afiko, but stories of her kindness and wisdom reached the village. Ifenkiri often thought of her former friend, regretting how she had treated her and wondering if she could ever find it in her heart to forgive herself. Every day, Ifenkiri lived with the regret of her past actions. She knew she could never turn back time, but she hoped that by continuing to be kind and helping others, she could find some semblance of peace. She spent her days tending to the village's needs, trying to find solace in the good deeds she performed. Despite her efforts, the pain of her past mistakes lingered. Ifenkiri's heart ached with the realization that she had missed out on true happiness because of her pride and arrogance. The love and joy she saw in the lives of others served as a constant reminder of what she had lost. As Ifenkiri sat alone in her home, she whispered a prayer for forgiveness and hoped that someday she might find a way to forgive herself and move forward. 10 years passed and Ifenkiri reached her 50th year. Her once radiant beauty had softened with age, but she had gained a different kind of grace, one that came from wisdom and experience. Ifenkiri had never married, but she found a new purpose in life as an advocate for younger women in the village of Afikpo. She spent her days advising young girls on the importance of inner beauty and character, sharing her own life story as cautionary tale. Ifenkiri's transformation into a mentor earned her the respect and admiration of the villagers, who had come to see her as a symbol of growth and redemption. One sunny afternoon, Ifenkiri gathered a group of young women under the shade of a large tree. The girls sat in a circle, listening intently as Ifenkiri spoke. "Beauty is a wonderful gift," Ifenkiri began, her voice gentle yet firm. "But it is fleeting, it fades with time, and what remains is your character and the kindness you show to others." The girls nodded, captivated by her words. One of them, a girl named Adeze, raised her hand. "Ifenkiri, how did you learn this lesson?" Ifenkiri smiled, her eyes reflecting both sadness and wisdom. "I learned it the hard way, Adeze. I was once very proud of my beauty and turned away many suitors, believing I deserved more. But in the end, my pride led me to loneliness. It took many years and much regret for me to understand that true beauty lies within." The girls looked at her with admiration. They appreciated her honesty and the lessons she imparted. Ifenkiri had become a beacon of hope and guidance for them. Though Ifenkiri had made peace with her past, there was still one person she longed to see again, Onogo. She often thought of her old friend and hoped that one day they might reconcile. One morning, as Ifenkiri was tending to her garden, she heard a familiar voice call her name, "Ifenkiri." She looked up and saw Onugu standing at the gate, a warm smile on her face. Ifenkiri's heart leaped with joy. She rushed to the gate, her eyes filled with tears. "Onugu, is it really you?" Ifenkiri exclaimed, her voice trembling with emotion. "Yes, Ifenkiri, I have come back to Afiko to find you," Onugu replied, stepping forward to embrace her friend. They hugged tightly, both women overwhelmed by the moment. Tears streamed down their faces as they held each other, the years of separation melting away. "I'm so sorry, Onugu," Ifenkiri said, her voice choked with emotion. "I was so foolish and hurtful. Can you ever forgive me?" Onugu pulled back slightly, looking into Ifenkiri's eyes. "I forgive you, Ifenkiri. I was also sad that I wasn't here when Adane passed away. I'm sorry I couldn't be there for you." Ifenkiri shook her head. "No, Onugu. You had your own life to live. I'm just grateful you are here now." They spent the day catching up, sharing stories of their lives over the past years. Onugu told Ifenkiri about her children, the joys of motherhood, and her life as the queen of her kingdom. Ifenkiri shared how she had found a new purpose in helping the young women of the village. "I have learned so much, Onugu," Ifenkiri said. "I may not have found the happiness I once dreamed of, but I have found peace and contentment in my own way." Onugu smiled warmly. "That's all that matters, Ifenkiri. We all find our path in different ways." As the days turned into weeks, Ifenkiri and Onugu rekindled their friendship. They spent time together, reminiscing about the past and making new memories. The villagers were happy to see them reunited, and they admired the strength of their bond. One evening, As Onugu visited, they sat together watching the sunset. Ifenkiri turned to Onugu. I'm truly grateful for your friendship, Onugu. It means the world to me. And I am grateful for yours, Ifenkiri, Onugu replied. We have both grown and learned so much. Our past mistakes have shaped who we are today. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sky turn shades of orange and pink. The peace and happiness they had found in each other's company brought a sense of closure to their journey. The story of Ifenkiri finally came to an end, but her legacy lived on in the hearts of the young women she had mentored and the villagers who had witnessed her transformation. Ifenkiri had learned to let go of her past and live her life with grace and wisdom, finding happiness in the most unexpected places. And so, in the village of Afikpo, Ifenkiri and Onugo continued to live their lives, cherishing the friendship that had withstood the test of time and adversity. Their story served as a reminder that it is never too late to change, to find redemption, and to embrace the true beauty of life. This story teaches us that true beauty comes from being kind and humble. Ifenkiri learned that being proud and mean to others can lead to loneliness and regret. It's important to treat everyone with respect and to value kindness over looks because real beauty is about having a good heart. Thank you for watching this amazing story about Ifenkiri on African Stories. If you liked it and felt inspired with her journey, please show your support by clicking the like button, sharing with your friends, and leaving a comment below. To see more interesting stories and learn about different cultures, subscribe to African Stories and don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss a new story. Your support means a lot and helps us bring more stories to you. Until we meet again, stay connected, stay inspired, and keep smiling.